Welcome back, YouTubers, to another NXT review with me, Mr. Parkin, on behalf of the British Fist. As per usual, if you have any thoughts and comments regarding NXT or this week's edition of NXT, please let me know down in that comment section below. So it looks like this week's edition of NXT was the start of a program between Finn Balor and Tyler Breeze. You had Finn Balor pretty much breeze through Ty Dillinger, so to speak, and then you had Tyler Breeze on the Titantron backstage cutting a promo on Finn Balor, which is starting a program between the two. It's nice to see a new feud in NXT. I think Finn Balor is the kind of guy that always needs to be in a feud on NXT, as he is a big part of the show. And also, I think Tyler Breeze is that, really perfect heel character that can pretty much feud with any babyface on the roster. So I think now we get the reason why Tyler Breeze beat Hideo Itami a few weeks back. I mean, at the time I was thinking, why are they doing this? You're having Hideo Itami being in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania and you're having Tyler Breeze beat him? Well, I think NXT's thinking here may well have been that, well, we have a program lined up for Tyler Breeze and we want him to look legitimate going into it against Finn Balor, who has only just, let's not forget, been in a program with the NXT champion and, run him to the line, Kevin Owens. So they had to make him look legit to some degree. I can't wait to see how this feud pans out. It should lead to a good match, definitely an NXT takeover. And I think this feud is, come at the right time for both guys who have just come off feuds, etc. And they just both need to be in some kind of program. So next up, we had the Triple Threat #1 contendership match for a shot at Sasha Banks' NXT Women's Championship. You had Bayley, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch in there. I kind of knew Charlotte wasn't going to win here. I mean, you've already had her face off with Sasha Banks many times now, and she's had her rematch. And, it's really about time to put a new woman in the NXT Women's Championship picture now, really. And I think having Becky Lynch win is definitely the right thing to do. I mean, I would have been all for Bayley, but Becky Lynch hasn't really had that one-on-one title shot yet. And, the way I see it is that it's a new match. We haven't seen too much of Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. It should definitely be a good match. It gives NXT a chance to spotlight a new female wrestler in the form of Becky Lynch, and we can see what they could do with her character and what she brings to the table going into a feud. I mean, she's Irish, and she says disgusting, as they said on this show. That was kind of funny. And also, if they want to, and they should really go there, they can go off their history together, with Becky Lynch being Sasha Banks's, henchwoman, so to speak, or they're in it together so that one of them can win the championship. So you got that to go off. So I think having Becky Lynch in that spot has many, many upsides, and I can't wait to see how this feud progresses and see their match at the next takeover. So fresh off of Hideo Itami being involved at WrestleMania, technically, even though it was on the pre-show in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, fresh off that, you have him on NXT defeating CJ Parker. It seems like NXT wants to have CJ Parker face everyone he can before he officially isn't part of the company anymore, which was as of last week. But for Hideo Itami to get featured in a big way that he did on NXT, be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and then getting featured like this was a little bit of a disservice in my opinion. I'm not even really a massive fan of Hideo Itami. I'm really not. But I at least think this guy, if you're going to spotlight him the way you did on that show 2 weeks ago, then I think at least he should be in some kind of feud. Just the way I said, maybe he will be in some kind of feud going forward. I don't know. I just think Hideo Itami and a character like him, if the way they spotlight him, should be in a program. He shouldn't just be defeating jobbers and that be it. He should have a purpose on the show, in my opinion. And right now, he hasn't got that. I imagine going into TakeOver, or the next TakeOver, whenever that's going to be, it hasn't been announced yet, that he will have a program. So until then, I'll reserve my thoughts on Hideo Itami if he's only really going to be in jobber matches. Let's introduce a little bit of modern-day mathematics to this week's edition of NXT. You've got Rhyno, who's defeating a lot of jobbers lately. You've got Baron Corbin, who's been defeating a lot of jobbers lately. This seems to bode well in the sense that these two, logically, should face off. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. Baron Corbin plus Rhyno equals a must-see match for NXT, in my opinion. You're pretty much booking these guys the same way. Baron Corbin's dominant, Rhyno is dominant. It's going to get to that point where both guys are going to be so dominant that people are going to want to see who is going to win between Rhyno and Baron Corbin. And like I said last week, I think NXT should definitely book this match for the next takeover. I think there are many upsides to it. Not only will it put over Baron Corbin, in my opinion, but having Baron Corbin train and be in the ring with a guy like Rhyno will definitely help him, as he is still a little bit green and he still hasn't really been there in a proper feud yet in NXT. So I think Rhyno and Baron Corbin at some point has to happen. So our main event of the evening was Alex Riley's return match against Kevin Owens after getting his ass kicked in Columbus, Ohio. Did anyone else see that Boo Owens Boo sign by that guy or whatever in the crowd? Really? Boo Owens Boo? You choose to show that one? I just found that sign funny, and I did. And you know, this match really was there to be a device to get to Sami Zayn returning, getting a piece of Kevin Owens. That's really all this match was about. You had Kevin Owens defeat Alex Riley in about 5 or so minutes, have Kevin Owens about to do the powerbomb on the ring apron to Alex Riley, only for Sami Zayn to come out, and then they end up getting separated by referees. And then we get that awesome moment where you've got all the referees surrounding Kevin Owens, and then Sami Zayn does the flip off the top rope onto everyone to the ole, 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 ole. Oh, that just was an awesome moment in my opinion. And I really can't wait to see a little bit more of this feud. I mean, I imagine they'll have a match at the next TakeOver now. So Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn is getting reinvigorated now, and I think it's this point where you realise what they did has actually made this feud a lot better. You know, at the time, I think a lot of people were thinking, you know, wow, they had Kevin Owens win the title that way, and now you kind of see why. It's made this Sami Zayn return and return match for the title, so to speak, down the line, just feel that much better in my opinion. Really does feel like right now Sami Zayn would have to overcome a massive obstacle in the way that Kevin Owens has been booked in order to get that championship. You know, Sami Zayn going against Adrian Neville for the championship, you could see him winning that. They were the same size. You know, even though Sami Zayn had, you know, never got the big one or never won the big one, you still thought that he could beat a guy like Adrian Neville who was a similar, if not smaller size than him. But now you're coming up against Kevin Owens. He's defeated Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, you know, many other people. He's defeated... I think him and Rhyno should have a match at some point just so he can defeat Rhyno. You've got this dominant force going through in NXT. And now Sami Zayn is going to be the next challenger. Can't wait to see this match. I really can't. This feud should definitely get better going at this point forward. Overall this week, I thought NXT was pretty decent. I mean, you're actually giving us some kind of direction as to what we're going to be going for on the next TakeOver show. Owens versus Zayn is back, and I'm glad about that. Becky Lynch is the new #1 contender. That should be something fresh and new. Finn Balor, Tyler Breeze is something fresh and new. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to give out of these programs on NXT from this point forward. And I just wonder now when the next NXT TakeOver is going to be announced. And also, don't forget, guys, Rhyno versus Baron Corbin. Let's please put a petition for NXT to do this match. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to go for. But I just want to get the message out there. Baron Corbin versus Rhyno, book it, WWE. It's not that hard.